Hello, hello, hello. Hi, I hope you can hear me. Okay, yeah, just let me know if you can hear me in the chat, then I'll go on. All right, hello, Jennifer. Hi. All right, great. So I really didn't come with anything to talk about. So if anybody had something to say, otherwise I was just gonna talk about whatever comes to mind. I was thinking earlier about power, right? And the truth of power in the mind of Christ. Hey, Jack. Hi, everybody who's coming in. Um, so then, in order to project or use this power, you have to use your mouth or a written word or drawing picture, anything that can project a an idea, really. And of course, with the code always being the same, which I've told you about, it's the code of creation. It's always the same, whether it's used for ill purposes or for the truth. So then you just have to recognize the intent of the caster. As I told you before, that everyone who talks out of their mouth is casting and hoping for a return. You know, so they're fishing for it's fishing for men, but you fish for minds because once you have a man's mind, woman's mind, you have them, right? That's what the idea of being led by a light, fallen light. In this place, it's fallen. People are led by commercialization, um, desire, because once desire is then instilled into you, then if I can, here's what I do. If I see you sitting there peacefully under that tree, and instead of saying I'm going to just leave that person alone, what I want to do is entice you into something, so that then you will then cast back to me your desire, and then I can sell you something, right? Do you see how that intent was to get you to buy something? See, so that was an evil intent. So you have to be able to recognize that. See, so when you become that passerby, somebody says to you, "I noticed you just walked by there," and I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Can you tell me why? Do you have the time to listen?" And most of the time, they'll say no, and I say, "Okay, then. When you do, let me know, and I'll explain it to you." All right. So if you have a moment to actually listen, I'll explain that to you. So, in this existence, you are born into the birthing of cycles. If you've noticed lately that it's just like electricity, because I've told you before that this place is a wet cell. If you move your arms around, you can feel, the what's called atmosphere. You can feel the humidity. You can feel the moisture. That is that wet cell environment you live in, because as humidity decreases, you'll dry up. So then you need that wet cell environment. Within that wet cell environment, you have the electrical system. All right. Within that electrical system, you also have the reflection or the magnetic system, which is what holds you to the plane of existence, which has deviations called depth and elevation at 90 degrees. That's what so called gravity is. It is what holds you to the plane at 90 degrees. I've told you that before. So always hold on. So keep that in mind always. Once you know that, go out, test it. Once you know that, once that becomes a truth, it becomes a guiding light to you because it is God given. It is the truth of this place. It didn't matter that you decided it was true. It was true. You noticed it. You examined it. You measured it. You reproduced it. Right? So it's not as if you bought a pig in a poke. You examined it and you found it to be sound and truthful and built on the cornerstone that is Christ. Right? That's another thing. Yeah, somebody I noticed put "nobody died, nobody got hurt" in the comments, which is great. You know why I the thing about that is you have to make sure that when you use it or say it, it's with the proper intent. Because I notice people have turned it into a more like a slogan than a slap. It's meant to be a slap. It's meant to hurt. See, that's the paradox. Because when I say nobody died, nobody got hurt, that's the truth of the matter. However, what does the person who then received that feel? Because I've stripped from them an idol. They feel hurt. But that hurt is an illusion. So it's not real. So in fact and in truth, nobody died and nobody got hurt. That is when you use that statement, use it with the power of the intent. It's not a catchphrase. That's what lazy people say, Jack. You're right. Yeah, Jack, you're right. If people use it as a catchphrase, they're lazy. Because they haven't done the work to even know why they're speaking. You know? So if you don't have something to say, don't say it. Why are there millions and millions of video, audio, this, that, and the other thing, and most of it is rubbish? Most of it. And when I say most of it, that is being kind, because when you go out there looking, there's very little that's actually worth it at the end of the time you spent. Because listen to me, the time you spend on anything, even this, right here at this moment, you will never get back. All right? So when something enters your mind, a light, all right, a thought, and it's something that stops you, do not just move forward. You have nothing to, you don't have anywhere else to go. Stop for a moment, slow down, look at it, examine it. Why did that thought come to mind? What does it mean to you for real? All right? Break it down like I've shown you before. And that's the point of showing you, whether it be a line drawing, because they all mean the same thing. Everything means the same thing. Everything is reflecting either the truth of your creator, your Father in heaven. The truth of it is reflected in your actions. And or you are reflecting or acting like a fallen liar. You are a fallen man. So you can chase around all these, but they don't mean anything to you right now. They are called type and shadow for a reason. They are type and shadow so that I can use it. I can use the type, the words, and the shadow that is cast. And I told you that before. in the video I put out the other day, yesterday, I think, about what the shadow represents in this place. The shadow represents the magnet or the attraction to the ground. Because unless that magnet, that shadow comes into existence, there can be no attraction to the ground. That means it cannot exist in the physical plane of this place. So then you have to then create that magnet. You have that shadow by bringing it physically through manifestation of your body movements into motion. And that usually is you running into somebody else and casting that light onto them, right? And it's always for the most time I see, it's always misled. It's always it's worldly concern and gibberish at the end of the sentence, at the period, at the point. I look, and it's nothing but a empty vessel. I slap it and it cracks and it breaks. There's nothing there. There's no water. There's nothing for me to drink. I came to you thirsty and you gave me nothing. Oh, you said, oh, take this. I've consumed this. I've produced this for you. Okay, let me take a look. Nothing. It's like I would rather have cotton candy. You got any cotton candy? You know, cotton candy is more filling. So, yeah, good day. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to look at the chat here for a moment. So, yeah, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Convenience. Well, always take a look at, I'll tell you, I will then give you some type and shadow of my personal witness into a word meaning, which you just wrote, convenience. I was looking at a coffee table book. They used to call them that. I'm quite sure that they still make them, but they were meant to put on a coffee table. So they were oversized books with pictures. And it was in Washington State at the time, and it was at a waiting room, and they had a Far Side coffee table book. So I took a look at it, and I opened it up because I only had a moment because they called me. So I only had a moment to open it, take a look at the one cartoon I'll tell you about, and it was called The Inconvenience Store, and it was a dude from the dude's perspective walking in the store. All the shelves were about 14 foot high. So if you get the joke. So the idea of convenience is the idea of the easy. I think what you're trying to get to is the easy belief idea, meaning that things come easy. The thing about that is it's true that things do come easy. However, most people will not let that happen because they fight with their ego. They fight with what's called that free will. So they're like, no. They're like, no. It can't be that easy. It can't be that I put my faith in Jesus Christ. He then gives me the gift and light of Christ, which is the comforter. He gives that to me. He's like, I'm not taking you out of this world. You got to, that's not the way this works. You physically have to stay and exist and still be with these fallen dead minds. However, I'm going to give you this comforter who will bring you into all knowledge. You ask and you will receive as much as you want. Freely given, freely received. Again, like I told you again, then freely given back out again to those that have the eyes and ears to hear and all that good stuff. All right. So people use that stuff, but when they say, oh, if you have the eyes to see, and then they'll produce a bunch of gibberish from Hollywood and the Hollywood, the magic wand. That's the Hollywood is the magic wand. So, yeah, they too are casting and fishing for men, right? Fishing, and again, remember when I fish for men, you're fishing for minds. So then, if you look at Hollywood, if you look at the idea of Hollywood and you spend years and years and years looking at each and every film that comes out of Hollywood saying, oh, they're going to tell me something in here. And then you say, yes, it is going to show you something. It's going to show you the reflection of its maker, which is the fallen light. So, yes, everything produced from a fallen system will bear its signature. However, once you see that signature, if you continue and continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, that is the definition of insanity. You, by your own free will, are driving yourself insane because you have chosen to put yourself on a path that will never lead you out of anywhere but into another detail. Right? So then once you know that you can see a truth for what it is, then you move along from that. What's next? What's next? Right? So have you looked at the truth that when I speak to you, I sent a tone out. That tone will come back to me and I will own it and I will be responsible for it. And I am perfect with that because the words I speak to you that are truth are not mine, but God's alone, because every man is a liar. I told you that before. So if I speak a truth to you, it is because God is speaking through me at that moment. Because every word I speak to you, you test as well. That's the way you do it with every interaction. I know people sometimes say, and see, when I speak, I can always, and see, when I speak, I can always hear a reflection back saying, that sounds tough. I hear somebody thinking in the background, that sounds tough. I got to do that every time I interact. Yes. Yes, that's what you have to do every single time you interact. And if you choose to then interact in a space, in that game space that's outside of your doors, because once you enter that game space, you are under the code of that place you choose to live. Where you choose to live, you choose to stand under that code. That's just the way that goes. You have to give Romans due. All right. Where you put your stop is when they try to take what is God's, and you say stop. That's where you stop. All right. But just remember that fight out there is not yours. The good fight, the good word, the sword is to put out the truth of Christ and to save people, to bring them out of the rain, the purple rain. Take them out of the purple rain. Give them comfort. Give them a place to stay for a while, because this is a safe place, because I will not put up with liars in here. You will be gone that fast. I was just watching the fan above my head. And the reason I was doing that is because I was thinking about the wind on my hand, on my left hand at the time, and then one on my right. And I said, man, that was very interesting, because I felt a puff of wind come by my right and then onto my left. And it was only because I was seeing the pattern in what I told you is the atmosphere. I'm imagining that. And then I'm able to feel it, because I'm able to then estimate where that air is going to be moved. And within that observation, you can build what I call the sine wave, and everybody calls it that, I guess. But the sine wave. But I had the E at the end, because it's with brackets, because it's the sin. It's the idea of the thought. Now, if the thought I just had was not true, my test would have verified that, right? So then I can verify that truth. It seems simple, but it's very important, because then I can then take that truth and look around this truth and then observe the rest of it. Now that's only true within this environment. So then I have to take the environment that I'm in into that account, right? So then make sure that you're always learning, even from the simplest observation. All right. So then I have to tell myself, okay, so this observation is true within this space, verified. Now, then can I take that, put it to another, a larger environment, and then how does that react? Because that's the idea of the sphere of influence. That everybody, so our sphere of influence goes out to the farthest reach, to the farthest point of our touch. Let's say if that's video, to the farthest reach of where that video is shared. My voice, as far as it can be heard, because sound doesn't travel forever. It goes to a point and stops. Just like a person's soul, for lack of a better term, because I know there's a lot of loaded words. So the soul that I'm speaking is the light, the breath that your Creator breathed, that light, you, who that He knew before you were born. That is what I'm speaking about. All right. So when that light is going through this life, this Jacob's ladder, and I show you that in the drawings as the butterfly's antennae. If you get to the point to where you become so lost in your own flutterings, in your own observations of obviously fallen lies, because you've chosen to ignore the simple truths in front of you. So you've gone for all these bright fluttering lights. That spark at the end of your physical life, not knowing true life in Christ, simply dissipates. It simply ceases to be. New is forgotten. Because that is called separation from your Creator. You chose that path. So just understand that right now, if that's the path you're on, being your own God, and you're trying to do it without salvation through Jesus Christ alone, who then gives you the Comforter, then you decided that. So you cannot be angry. All you can do is you can be aware now that is a choice you've made. And I'm letting you know that it's going to lead you to destruction. Okay. I was on that road for a while. But you know what? I always saw that light in the distance. I was like, man, I'm on this road, man, and I'm having a good time, but I kept seeing it. And then remember I told you about my friend Larry. And he kept telling me, he kept reminding me, he's like, hey, have you talked to Jesus Christ? Have you talked to him lately? You do stuff like that, remind me. And I always thought, I was the same way. I'm like, well, how am I going to follow some guy, read stories, go to a building with a bunch of hypocrites? It was phony. It's phony. Give me a break already. I said, I can't do that. So then I told you what happened. So I finally said, it won't be, I won't keep repeating, but it got to the point to where I'm like, either you're real or you're not, you're full of crap. Right. He shows me right there at that moment, brings me into life. I received the Comforter instantly. My wife asked me if I'm okay, and I said I'm perfect. I called Larry, and I was following what was in the man, what was given into the man through what's imagery as a dove, or the true love of the Father in heaven. The true love, the Christ, was put into a man. Man became God through Jesus Christ. You are saved. So through that, I was saved. And I was brought into the understanding that I'm giving you this comfort of this light. Now you're going to go do even greater things. I don't need you to go worry about, did I step on this brick or that brick? Because it actually doesn't matter because you're living right now. You need to do things right now. All right? So go do things right now. Because you're living in a place that is using the King James Bible as the script. And that's the truth of this place. You are living through what's called the book of Revelation. It is being presented to you at a much faster rate. If you've noticed that since the frequency has been changed, the frequency has been increased. And I go into that into my 4-in-1 videos and into, so although you're still physically living a 24-hour period, or what seems to be, because the lights in the sky show you that to be, you're living longer, a longer amount of time within the same period. So you're getting older faster, if that makes any sense. So with that way, I probably have to explain that more. But anyways, that goes into the 4-in-1 idea. It goes into the 4 lights becoming one, because you can only go so fast in this place before you will collapse, before what's called the 9/11 event happens. All right, because your mind is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is the idea of the top. All right, the 1, 0 is the idea of you. Do I give power to this? That's if I do, then I turn that 1, 0 into a 1, 1. It hangs on the 9. It brings the tower down. It then has to be rebuilt. And you keep rebuilding that by the details you consume. All right. So if you live by the consumption of the world, you will die by the consumption of the world. All right. If you let me just go take a look at the chat here. Make sure. Because I always like to make sure that if anybody is confused, tell me now so I can make sure that you're not before you leave. All right. Yeah, Jennifer just put a note talking about being deceived. I used to have a cannabis delivery business in California where I was the one-man show. I did the whole thing. I did the menu online. I gave room its due. I paid my taxes, everything. I was the guy you called. So if you called, I'd answer. I was like, then I'd walk you through the menu I had or whatever I had going on, because I did concentrates as well at the time. And then I'd show up. And if you didn't know how to use that new piece that you bought, sorry if the video is buffering. It might be yeah. So back to I'm sorry, Jennifer, but I'm back to what you were saying about being deceived by trusting people and this, that, and the other thing. And what happened in that business, I wound up being deceived basically by my so-called business partner, and wound up absconding with most of the loot. So things happen. So anyways, how does that work spiritually? Don't trust man, period. We're all out here. We're kind of at booths, kind of like at the hemp shows I used to do. We're all at booths where you walk up to our booth. I'll tell you something. You'll listen to it. I don't want you to buy it because it's not for sale. Just want you to hear it. Then you can take it and compare it to what your Father in heaven tells you. And then you'll find out that it's true. And once it's true, it's not my truth, because I shared it with you. I didn't make it up. So I received it and I gave it to you. And then you freely received it. You verified it, found it to be true, you kept it. You then shared it. That's how that works. Okay, good. I'm glad the buffering's back. If the buffering caused me to break up to where I didn't make sense, can you let me know? Then I'll. Yeah, Jack, exactly. Because you, like I say, we're all here because the way that God communicates, your Father in heaven communicates, is through us, because we are His body. We are the body of Christ. Then you have to go away. You have to go away from me, because that, by your own witness, you would say then that you are attracted to someone that you cannot see the light of Christ in, and then you're just choosing to waste your time. However, if you see that reflection of Christ in me, not that it is me, but it is in me, then you can go ahead and take that and test it. That's the difference. All right. Hanging out with me. All right. Sorry for the buffering. You know, you can leave me a comment if you like. You can always send me an email. You can join me on Discord. I know some of the drawing videos don't get as many people looking at them, because I can see that most people check out early. I do them long so that the people who don't have the patience scoot. Because it's almost a test of patience, as I told you before. Because it's like, if you don't have the patience, even if it's myself, I do it, even if I wasn't going to put it up. So a week ago or so, that says, when the disciples say, "Yeah, what should we ask for? What should we pray for?" Blah blah blah. Christ says, "Don't do what you hate." So I'm not going to do what I hate. All right. So no more videos. I'm not going to do videos. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. So the only videos you'll see on here are the ones that I want to do. All right. Do things differently. I was thinking I've already basically designed this next drawing, but what it's going to show you is how you are then, for lack of a better term, I'll tell you what it's going to develop. It's going to show you the true meaning, spiritual true meaning of the hidden hand and the phallus. So unfortunately, I'm going to show you the idea of how you're being milked. You, as you turn the image, 90 degrees each time, it will